Inside this device ID, I want just the timestamps that are above a certain period. So this is the main criteria for getting data out of DynamoDB. If you search by device ID or by device ID and timestamp, you can get data really, really fast, much faster than if you would search the entire table for this. And let's not use default settings here and talk about provision capacity. So the key idea in DynamoDB is that you don't need to provision or to understand the back-end infrastructure for this table. It will grow to keep this capacity at how much data you have. So if you specify 5 read units and 5 write units, let me disable auto scaling for now. So this would cost $291 a month, and this is how much you use your data. Like if you have 5 gigabytes, 5 terabytes, or 5 petabytes of data, it would provision the amount of hardware and infrastructure required to keep these units that you provisioned. So, and you can change this at any time without impact on your tables. So if you have a huge promotion coming or a corporate event or at any time you need more reads or more writes, you can just say, hey, now I need, the event is on, we're live, I need 50 write capacity units, and it's just like that. It will cost proportionally, but you have this ability to scale up and scale down your database as you need. And although this is great, sometimes it's hard to determine like how much write capacity I need, how much read capacity I need. Like this floats a lot, may float a lot depending on your app. So we have this auto scaling for DynamoDB. So here we can say, hey, I want to auto scale my read and write capacities. So when it's at 70% utilization, I will increase the volume. And the same to you can do the same to the indexes that back your table. And that's all you need. Once you create a Dynamo table, it's ready for use in nearly instantly. So this won't take as much as a relational database would, and we'll be able to soon see the data. Let me see if in this other table I have some items here that I can add. And another important detail about DynamoDB is that it's schemaless. So when I create an item, see that we have resource ID and timestamp here, but I can create a new one that has a resource ID and another field, for example, anything at all, and it's 1, 2, 3. And you can see that now my table has this column, but this is just a UI thing because I don't need to alter table, create table. If I just add data, it will hold to that data as you would expect in other key value or document databases. And here you have the metrics, alarms, capacity, indexes, and everything regarding your data. I'd like to show some very new announcements as well. As we were talking about the new stuff on relational databases, I'm going to show some new features on NoSQL and Dynamo. First one is global tables. So if you have a global application, such as social media or any kind of global app, you may experience this problem that hosting the database on a single region may take a lot of time for this data to go from one place to another. So you may want to replicate this worldwide, and it brings all these challenges again of conflict resolution and how do you sync data and share it and stream it. So when you enable streams, you are just saying that you're okay with DynamoDB shipping your data out. And this is not an empty table. Let me get those events and enable streams on that. and add other regions. So now we are in Virginia. I will replicate to Ireland. So it's creating my replica table. It's creating this table on the Ireland region, and now it's there. So if I go to the data here and say that I have my device with timestamp now, let's see if I can get a better now. Yeah, now is okay. Pretend it's a timestamp. And if we go to the other region in Ireland, we have the events table there, and the items soon will be there, right? It's not. It may take a couple time before it set up and synchronizes the table, but it should be here soon. And let's go back to my original region and see if there is any indication on how that is replicating. Well, but that's all the setup that you need for having a global DynamoDB table that you can query or write from any region and have a truly global app. If you've done this by yourself with other kinds of replication, you see how hard it is. You have your database engine needs to know if the client and the server, if they're in if the replication is going to occur in the same region, if it's going to cross regions, because one is synchronous, the other is asynchronous, as you could see, and this is a bit hard to manage on yourself, and it's now embedded natively as a feature of DynamoDB. Another hard point with this amount of data and huge amounts of data is backup. So on DynamoDB backups, you can just back up the entire table, and as it's being enabled, now we need to take a break and come back to backups in DynamoDB once this table is created. Let's see if I can get it on this other table that I already have. So yeah, when I enable this, it takes a bit, and I can create a backup and say this is my now backup. And you can see that it's instant, regardless of the amount of data that you have. This is just the same time that you expect it to happen. And again, this is to support those two kinds of backup, as we were talking in the relational case. You can roll back to any point in time. So say you have completed an update and deleted items that you should, you can roll back to any point in time and recover your table to sanity. Or you can create a backup manually and saying I want a snapshot at this point in time, and this keeps forever. You can roll back to it at any time. And also we have embedded in DynamoDB something called the DAX. As we're going to talk now, a very popular thing to do with these DynamoDB tables and relational databases at all is cache them. So we have a separate service for in-memory caches, that's ElastiCache. In ElastiCache, you can create memcached or Redis clusters. So I can just come here and create my Redis instance and use it to or cache or use as a data store on my app. If your app uses Redis natively, that's a lot of cases. Again, the same mode easy with auto failover, so you don't have to set up high availability for Redis yourself, and the same setup that you would expect. But even so, integrating Redis and DynamoDB would be quite a task in some apps. So we have in DynamoDB embedded cache called DAX, DynamoDB Accelerator, that you can just create a cluster and it will be fronting your DynamoDB tables and creating and caching in memory. So you can go from the 1 or 2 milliseconds that DynamoDB answers in really single-digit latency is the term that we use, so it's likely less than 10 seconds. But if you create a cache cluster, it will probably drop to 1 or 2 milliseconds or even to the microseconds range. So this is pretty important, especially for the IoT and high frequency cases that we were talking about. And this is wildly different in many different customers. So for example, in many cases we need search. So we have also services for that. And Cloud Search was initially what we had based on Solar, and now we have Elasticsearch based on Elasticsearch. And when you create a new Elasticsearch domain, it's your regular MyES, and you just say how many instances you want, the size, and Amazon will take care of provisioning, securing, and optimizing all those details that you would need by hand. I will just select that, go through with default settings so you see what's the experience is expected here. Go with public access. You can, not probably a good idea for production, go in this allowing everybody to access your search engine. But let's see if I can get this up. So open access to the domain is I accept the risk. And let's go. So this is all you need to have Elasticsearch, Kibana, and run your ELK stack, your databases, and things like this. So to sum things up, the idea here is that you can mix and match your favorite set of databases. If you're into analytics on relational databases, data warehousing, we have Amazon Redshift for that. You can have your star schema and use the same PI and DW tools that you're used to. Or if you're into NoSQL and high-scale databases for the famous web scale of data that is available as well as a service that you don't need anything to manage, backup, real easy, just integrate with your app and you're done. And another interesting scenario is that you're not coupled to this, right? If you want to use the same MySQL that you have on your development machine, that's available. If you want to use Aurora, that's our implementation of a very effective storage engine, that's the same and at no difference to your app because it's the same protocol and drivers from standard MySQL, right? And even the Elasticsearch, the Redis, the Memcached, all that is available as a building blocks for your app, and we are here to help you be successful with it. If you have any questions, throw at us, and we would love to keep building together. Thank you very much. See you at the London Summit.